With the election of Donald Trump as the next American president, there's been a lot of emphasis on his actions, or indeed his past actions, by the mainstream media, in the Western world especially. And scant attention has been paid to Hillary Clinton. And indeed, at the current time, I have no idea what she's up to. Let's look at some of the past associations of Hillary Clinton, in particular that with John Podesta. Now, recently, in one of the WikiLeaks publications on the internet, there was the issue of the spirit cooking dinner with Marina Abramovic, or some will say Abramovic. And we have to know what spirit cooking is about. Supposedly it is just an art performance, but I've got some doubt in regard to this. Being a former theistic satanist myself, the painting of graffiti on walls with blood, supposedly pig's blood, is, you might say that's just a punk artistic act, but it's actually what was written on the wall which drew my attention. With a sharp knife deeply into the middle finger of your left hand, eat the paint, cut deeply. Now, some people may say it's a reference to some sort of Wicca ritual for making a magic wand. However, looking at Abramovich's, if you want to say occult influences, they seem to come from the 1920s to the 1940s, say 1920 to 1940. Now, Wicca was not invented and did not gain any main traction until, so let's say, 1950. And some people, and magic wands have been around long before then. Now, in Wicca, in order to make a magic wand, it involves a piece of dowel or a stick as long as your forearm. At one end of this wand, you use a sharp knife to cut like a little hole into one end of the wood. You cut your right hand, the forefinger and the index finger, your choice of two, comes down to personal preference. You then bleed onto cotton wool or a piece of cloth, and where you've dug that hole into the piece of wood, you place it in there and you seal it with white wax. Some people will put a crystal on top of it, then seal it with wax, but the blood comes from the right hand. In Satanism, a similar type of setup applies, where you get a piece of wood, long as your forearm, cut into it, cut a hole in one end, and cut either your left index finger or your left forefinger. Blade onto a piece of cloth or cotton wool, place it in the hole and seal it with black wax. Now, looking at what Abramovic does, and maybe she's doing it to get shock value, but shock value is only temporary. when you look at her artistic life, this is a consistent practice she does, where she uses pig's blood and blood of other animals, paints graffiti on walls, cuts off goats' heads, and she does one thing which really struck my interest, is that in a particular room where she does a performance, she will paint the blood where the floor and the wall join. More or less a magic circle, so to speak. Actually, it reminds me of a song by Bathory, which was a alleged satanic black metal, heavy metal band from Sweden in the 1980s. And there's a song called Necromancy. They say, line the circle of blood, draw the signs of hell, chant the words of pandemonium. When you look at what Marina Abramovic actually writes on the walls, it could qualify as that. One thing you have to consider, she is 70 years old, and I think her investigation of Satanism existed long before the likes of Bathory. And we really have to ask, who is she? In the latest edition of Time magazine, which is dated for the 21st of November 2016, the Asia Pacific edition, we see that, Donald Trump is the main story. But something curious struck me as I read the magazine when I got to the last page with the Q&A section. And guess who was in it? Marina Abramovic. And I don't know if Time magazine had recorded this story before the election was decided, or whether it is something that happened a couple of days ago. Though I certainly recommend that you read it if you can, because to doubt her sanity is quite valid. She says how her grandfather and his brothers were all killed by the King of Yugoslavia at the time, who was King Alexander. No specific date given, I'm guessing the 1930s, and he killed them by crushing diamonds and putting it in their food, and they died a month later after eating that food with the crushed diamonds. Truthfully speaking, if King Alexander wanted these people dead ASAP, he could have used more convenient and cheaper ways to do it. As for spirit cooking, not even worth a mention. So it makes me wonder when this Q&A session was actually recorded and who decided to put it into print. Now, this isn't the first time Abramovic has been in Time magazine. Looking through online issues, I discovered she was in Time magazine in 2014, and she was listed amongst the 100 most influential people in the United States. And I'm trying to figure out, how is this so, where You are an artist who does nothing but butcher animals, and there is no evidence to suggest that she does do it, or that she does not take part in the killing of animals as part of her art. You know, you've got to ask some serious questions. Now, how does someone like this get into such a prominent position? The email from WikiLeaks was sent by Abramovic to Tony Podesta, who is the brother of John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. And from what I read, it gave me the indication that he had been to these previous dinners before. It does not make sense to me. Look, if you're known as the local black magic guy or magic guy, whatever, people will curry favour with you in order to get information or get you to do something for them. There's no obligation for you to invite them to dinner. And I'm just going to say Marina because I'm sick of pronouncing Abramovic. She just says, oh, it's just silly names we give out for activities. Spirit cooking dinner is just a silly name. Myself, do I believe she is a hardcore satanist? And I don't know who does she consider the Satan or hush Satan, whether it's Lucifer or Moloch. Now, looking at the behaviour of Democrat supporters in the United States, at this current time, and I believe it's been for a little while, that Lucifer has lost the title of the Satan and it's been taken by Moloch, as those two are joint rulers on the tree of death in the Sephira of Formiel. With Lucifer, everything's basically sociopathic, impersonal. It's just business, so to speak. With Moloch, it is psychosis. When I was a theistic satanist, the people I knew who participated in Satanism were extremely reluctant to do anything regarding Moloch. Too psychotic. Now, you might be wondering, why am I telling you all these things? Look, do I believe Donald Trump is a born-again Christian or anything like that? No, I don't. Do I think he might be some sort of theist where, he believes in God and that's about it? Yeah, everything's pointing that way. But what concerns me the most is the people who supported him have gotten slack. They thought, oh well, Donald Trump's been elected, now we're going to live in a land of milk and honey. Donald Trump is only effective as the people who support him. It's the attitude of Clinton supporters, the dykes, the poofters, niggers, anyone who can't speak English, anyone who doesn't know what their gender is. They thought, oh well, Hillary's in, we're going to live in the land of milk and honey. you should avoid that at all costs. Look, you know, I'll tell you this, with Satanism and its adherents, when I was one, as far as we're concerned, Sodom and Gomorrah was yesterday, and expulsion from heaven was last week. These people will carry on. And I don't think this is over what you call the left-wing soy milk cappuccino set. They're going to do everything they can to sabotage a Trump presidency. This is not over. And I want you to be aware of that. They don't care as long as Trump and, old white men go into extinction. They will cut a deal with anyone, and I mean anyone. So, this is something you should know. Yeah, that's Marina. She's holding the goat's head by the horns and so on. And people say, oh, it's just art, don't worry. But let's compare it to the next photo. Tell me who you think this is. Yeah, it's me with a pair of ram's horns on my shoulders, coming up from there. So you've got to ask, why does Marina seek to impersonate Satanism, practitioners of Satanism, and yet not specifically claim to be one herself? I've been told that a few days ago that on BBC Radio 4, she reportedly denied she was a Satanist. But, I don't know whether it's true or not. It's only what I've been told. And let's face it, anyone can ring up a radio station and claim to be you and spout all manner of things. The thing in Satanism is if you deny to Satan, you really, really, really have to atone for it. It is basically one of the worst sins you can do, to deny to Satan or deny Satanism. Like I said, I don't know how this is all going to pan out. Let's face it, Hillary, from what I can gather, seems to have jumped ship. I believe the plan was for her to become president and then pass it on to her daughter. I don't know who's going to take over leading the Democrats. I have no idea. And these people who follow the Democrats, they'll end up eventually turning on themselves if all the decent people have been terrorised or killed out of America. So what I stick by what I say. Do not accept that everything is going to be absolutely great now. And, I'm just making, this is short what I was really going to say, but Yeah, I'll use an old Zulu saying. After you have defeated your enemy, sharpen your spear. I don't think this can be considered over yet. Not at all.